Lovely. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this evening's planning meeting. Do we have any apologies for absence, please?
No, Chair, we have no apologies this evening.
Thank you.
Oh.
Yes,
Councillor
yes.
Virgo, of course.
Yes,
Yeah. And we have Tina Mackenzie Boyle online.
yes, I am live present, Chair.
Thank you. You can hear us and we can hear you. Lovely.
Thank you.
Of course, for those in the public chamber, councillors, members online can't vote, but they can contribute to the discussion and the debate. Okay. First of all, I ought to say welcome to the new clerk. Shilpa. Thank you. You'll discover everybody else's names as we go along, because they'll introduce themselves when they speak. Thank you. So the minutes of the last meeting, have you all read and agree those? Any questions about them? No. In that case, I do have something myself, actually. Now I think of it. Tina Mackenzie Boyle has one as well. The resolution says about allowing discussions to take place with the applicant, etc., and enable the calling, but it doesn't mention the concerns about the width of Hayley Green and the busy nursery on Hayley Green. So I'm wondering if that ought to be put in, please.
Yes, I think, Chair, the minutes were intended to sort of encapsulate the reasons for the item having been deferred. And, sorry, I haven't got them in front of me, but I think it was really to go back and have a look at the proposed access from Hayley Green. So I think the background information to that is the point that you raised in terms of concerns about its width. But really officers will have taken from that meeting exactly what the concerns were, and they will raise it. So that's a summary of the issues raised. So I think that's probably adequate for the minutes.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't have my microphone on. Is that explanation okay for you, Tina?
Yes, I'm content with that. Thank you.
Lovely. Is that what your concern was?
It was. Thank you
Lovely.
very much.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions? No, then I move that we accept this as a correct record. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Collins.
Happy to second, Councillor Collins.
Thank you. So all those in favour, please show. Any against or abstentions? No. Lovely. That seems to be carried because we have Tina online. Declarations of interest. Members are asked to declare any disclosable pecuniary interest or affected interests in respect of any matter to be considered at this meeting. Any member with a disclosable pecuniary interest in a matter should withdraw from the meeting when the matter is under consideration and should notify the Democratic Services officer in attendance that they are withdrawing as they have such an interest. If the disclosable pecuniary interest is not entered into the register of members' interests, the monitoring officer must be notified of the interest within 28 days. Do we have any declarations of interest, please? Councillor Collins.
As a member of the Warfield Community Hub Steering Group Committee, I have a conflict of interest.
So I think you have to withdraw from the meeting for that. Is that right?
And Mary as well.
Yeah.
And Mary as well.
Oh, and
I don't know whether I do or not, but I had to chair one of the working party groups on the Warfield Hub.
what do you think?
I had to chair the meeting.
Sorry, Councillor Templeton, are you on the steering group as well? Or you just chaired
Oh,
one?
no, wait a minute. Yeah, I was on the steering group because yes, I did. And then I had to chair it because, so I should leave as well.
Yeah, it probably
okay,
be.
sorry,
What's
right.
that? Yeah.
Sorry about that. Yes, that's 2 withdrawing. No other disclosable pecuniary interests? No? Okay, thank you. Moving on, are there any urgent items of business, please? None? We have no urgent items of business. So we can move swiftly along to Whitegates, St Mark's Road. Which officer is going to present this one?
It's me.
Would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Oh,
Yeah.
can I just get my presentation ready? No, it's-
Dexter Matthews. Yeah.
yeah, sorry, Dexter
Thanks.
Matthews. Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yes, that's great. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening. My name is Dexter Matthews and I'm the presenting officer for this case. This is a retrospective application seeking permission for the erection of an outbuilding in the private rear garden of Whitegates Hotel. The application site operates as a bed and breakfast and includes private residential accommodation for the owners. The application has been reported to the committee as 11 objections have been received from 10 neighbouring addresses. Sorry.
Make it doing the opener perhaps is a bit much for me.
To you. I'm just to introduce myself firstly. My name is Matthew Lunn, the Strategic Sites Design Team Manager, and I'll be presenting this on behalf of Dexter. I'll go straight to slide 2. I think. Is it 3 now?
Yeah.
Is this slide 3?
No, go back one.
This one here.
No, that's the slide you're on.
That's slide 3. Okay. Okay, I'll commence. The application site operates as a bed and breakfast and includes private residential accommodation for the owners. The application has been reported to the Planning Committee as 11 objections have been received from 10 neighbouring addresses and a further objection from Binfield Parish Council, which is updated in the supplementary report. A number of concerns have been raised regarding the retrospective nature of the application, its design and relationship with the surrounding area, and its impact on neighbouring dwellings. For clarity, whilst this is a retrospective application and it has been raised in the objections received, this is not a material consideration in the determination of this application, nor a reason for refusal. As a result, this application should be considered on its own merits. On the screen is the outbuilding for debate this evening, which proposes to facilitate 2 home working offices, a sauna, a shower and changing facility, and as such, the floor plans listed are what have been assessed for this application. It is worth noting that the building is unfinished in its current state and would be finished in render and painted grey. The outbuilding is considered modest in size. It is considerably set back from St Mark's Road and not overly visible from the public realm. There are limited views from within Woodies Close and can be seen here and as can be seen here, and therefore is not considered to result in an unacceptable impact on the character or appearance of the surrounding area, nor the street scene. Concerns have been raised that this would result in an overly cramped development. However, it's considered that a reasonably sized garden area would still be retained, and the outbuilding does not unacceptably reduce the level of private amenity space for the guests and owners. As can be seen from the aerial view on screen, there are two directly adjoining neighbours, Whispers and one Woodies Close. Whispers to the south would be approximately 3.7 metres away at its closest point, and a view towards the outbuilding can be seen on the screen. One Woodies Close is approximately 2.5 metres away at its closest point and separated by an evergreen Leylandii hedge, as can be seen here. It is therefore considered that a reason for refusal could not be sustained for an adverse impact to the residential amenity of neighbouring dwellings by appearing unduly overbearing or causing a loss of sunlight or overshadowing. No additional bedrooms have been applied for, and a condition has been imposed to retain these floor plans in order for the appropriate level of parking to be retained and no further intensification of the site to occur. To conclude, the scheme is considered to accord with the relevant policies of the Bracknell Forest Local Plan, the Binfield Neighbour Plan and the MPPF. The proposal is therefore recommended for approval subject to conditions set out in section 11 of the committee report. There you go, mate. I'm not answering questions.
Thank you. Questions for the officers, please. All right. Okay. Councillor Zahuruddin.
Through you, Chair. Given the objections about loss of light, overshadowing, and an overbearing impact, what evidence do we have that supports the conclusion that there would be no unacceptable harm to neighboring amenity? For example, like measured separation distances, building heights, or any daylight and sunlight assessments. And why such evidence is not necessary in this case?
Through you, Chair, could I ask the officer to go back to the picture showing the building? The answer is in relation to the screening that's provided around the site and the limited level of projection of the building above that existing screening. So as you'll see from that is the picture from the adjoining property, Whispers, and you'll see that the building only projects at a minimal amount above the boundary screening. In relation to Woodies Close at the back, there's a very established Leylandii hedge, which would have an impact on that adjoining property, which would not be exacerbated in any way by the proposed outbuilding.
Thank you. Councillor Templeton.
In the supplementary papers, there is a concern about parking issues. Now, it's a Home Office 1, Home Office 2, sauna, shower, change-in. So can I ask, is there likely to be an increased parking problem because of that use?
Through you, Chair, the intended use of the building is ancillary to the existing residential use or potentially by occupiers of the B&B, residents of the B&B. However, as you'll notice, condition 3 on the agenda proposes a restriction that would limit the building for those ancillary purposes and such that it couldn't be used as additional bedroom space, and it would be the additional bedroom space that would generate a requirement for additional parking, and therefore subject to the condition that's not an issue that we're concerned about.
Thank you.
Tina Mackenzie Boyle. Councillor.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Templeton has pretty much taken my words, but what I was thinking, Chair, through you, Chair, of course, are the facilities only for the residents and they are absolutely not going to be let out to others?
Question.
Through you, Chair. Yes, that's absolutely the intention. So the case officer spoke to the applicant today, who indicated that the facilities are intended entirely for ancillary use to the existing use of the premises.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Councillor Zahoudin again.
So just as a follow-up question from Councillor Templeton, how can we be confident that this building will not be operated as an independent unit or commercial wellness or office use? I understand you answered about the beds, which is understandable, but my concern is around operating itself as an independent commercial unit. So does our conditions really strengthen and restrict those things?
Yes, through you, Chair. The word in the condition requires it to be used ancillary for purposes ancillary to the use of white gates, and therefore that would prevent a separate commercial use being installed. With the condition, we add it to a list of cases identified for the enforcement team, and they do regular enforcement visits in order to ensure that those conditions are being complied with. And in that manner, we're satisfied that the condition is reasonable and enforceable.
Councillor Hayes, please. Sorry.
Just following on from there, just for clarification, that we say ancillary to the main house. Have we got a condition, because I was looking through, for the legal part, that it could never be segregated as well from the main house at a later date, that it has to be remained with it as a sold as a separate function, because that's
Yes,
once it's established as a thing. This is under the legal part of it.
Yeah, you're on.
Through you, Chair. Yes, I think the wording of the condition is sufficient to ensure that there isn't a segregation. The words ancillary to are sufficient to condition it in that way. That's correct, yes. No, that's right.
Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just curious, really, as to these kind of relatively small buildings are often permitted development. Why is planning permission necessary in this case?
I haven't got
It's,
exact details of the
sorry.
sizes.
It's because it's in mixed use, it doesn't benefit from householder permitted development rights, so it needs planning permission.
Thank you. Very interesting. I was very concerned myself. Why hasn't it got a loo if it's got a shower and a sauna, for goodness sake? It doesn't seem to make sense. But I think yes, Councillor Zahoudin.
My last question. If the previously approved plan, I know we are assessing this application on its own merit, but if there is an already existing approved plan from 2022, if that plan goes ahead and it's fully implemented, what would be the cumulative impact on the site coverage, garden provision, neighboring amenity, and how confident we are that it wouldn't result in overdevelopment?
Through you, Chair, I haven't got specific details of the level of site coverage as a percentage. However, that matter is dealt with in the report, and the case officer has assessed it on the basis that there is the potential for that previously approved extension to be implemented, and has concluded that there would remain sufficient amenity space to serve the existing mixed use.
Thank you. Any other questions? No. Okay, thank you. So may I now move the recommendation on page 21 of the agenda? There's no supplementary, was there? Sorry, I forgot the supplementary. No, lovely. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Collins will second. Do you want to make any comments in support, or do you want to debate? Have we heard? No. Councillor Hayes.
Just as a comment, because I'm dealing with a case at the moment whereby we have the plans, but they're not being carried out to what it is after, and the bathroom and the toilet might appear then. But when this is in development, will it be under the building control and that, just to make sure we're covering ourselves?
This is a question.
Oh, yes. Will we keep a close
Can we please?
watch on what we're developing?
That's a question. Would you like to comment on? Yeah. We've bypassed all that.
Okay.
Sorry.
I have concerns that we do make sure that
Right.
my debate would
Now
be.
it's a comment.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I do have concerns about what we're being shown and what I know has happened in other properties I'm looking at the moment, and the development is not done to what the plans
No.
were.
Okay.
I hope we keep such a look on this one.
Thank you. Councillor Mackenzie Boyle, please.
Thank you, Chair. And through you, I understand absolutely what Councillor Hayes is saying, and I absolutely support that. What we, I think, saying together is could we have an enforcement visit, say in a year's time, to see whether there has been a loo put in and whether this is not what we're looking at today.
Again, we are in debate, not questions and seeking help. But I think, no, I can't answer.
Well, may I then please say, can we please then have an enforcement visit in order to ensure that what we are passing today is what we are passing?
That is a question, and we need to just give that question to the case officer afterwards, after the meeting,
Okay.
and perhaps he will facilitate that if need be.
Okay.
Councillor Temperton, please. We are in debate, not questions.
Yes, it's definitely debate. Yeah, it's definitely debate. Looking at the diagram, and the pictures, as long as it gets finished, because it's pretty horrible at the moment, isn't it? But but I don't think it's very much bigger than a lot of the buildings, as Councillor Smith just said, that are arriving in the gardens of other estates all over which do not need planning. So I know this did need planning, and it's good that it does. But I note that it does say very clearly under the recommendations that the following conditions do not require details to be submitted but must be complied with: 1, approved plans; 2, materials; and 3, ancillary use. So with that statement, I'm happy to support this.
Thank you very much. Anybody else, please? No, I think that about sums it up. Shall we take a vote, please? All those in favour? Those against? And any abstentions? No, that's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, next item. Item 6. Thank you very much. Well done. Made it through. The junction of Waterloo Road, Old Wokingham Road and Peacock Lane, Wokingham. And Katie Andrews is our officer.
Thank you, Chair. Katie Andrews presenting. Planning permission is sought for the construction of a new roundabout and associated works. The application is reported to the Planning Committee due to the application being contrary to Local Plan Policy LP35, as a roundabout isn't an acceptable type of development in the countryside. The application is therefore a departure to the local plan and is brought to the Planning Committee in compliance with the Council's scheme of delegation. Members are first directed to the supplementary report for updates on the application. This updates the planning conditions on pages 47 to 56 of the committee report and also provides an update in respect to the proposed mitigation and compensation to be secured at paragraph 11 of the committee report. The location plan on the screen shows a site hatched pink. The site relates to an area of land at East Hampstead Park and partly on the existing highway network. Bigwood Lodge is located at the entrance to East Hampstead Park, which is a Grade 2 listed building, curtilage listed building, to the main East Hampstead Park, which is located along a long tree-lined avenue. The site's marked by a number of trees, as can be seen in the aerial image, with the roundabout to occur in the area lined red. Ancient woodland surrounds the site, and the plan at the top of the screen shows these areas marked in blue. A veteran tree also lies within the site, which is where roughly the location of my cursor on the screen, with the woodland also in this location identified as UK BAP priority deciduous woodland. Tree preservation orders also mark the tree-lined avenue leading into East Hampstead Park. The plan on the screen now shows the roundabout layout. The proposed layout of the roundabout has been designed with a three-arm configuration with two-lane entry on Old Wokingham Road and Peacock Lane and one-lane entry on Waterloo Road. The proposals also include a range of associated works, including earthworks, engineering works, and a SUDS attenuation pond in this location. The proposal will require the removal of 80 recorded individual trees, in addition to the removal of 3 groups of trees and the partial removal of 1 group of trees. One of the trees proposed for removal is protected by TPO 1253, which is an oak tree, with its removal required due to a proposed new earth bank overlapping its stem. Tree 110 is a beech tree and is also proposed for removal. It's been identified as a veteran tree by the Council's tree officer. The photos on the screen show the entrance to East Hampstead Park and the tree-lined avenue leading to the building. A further view of the entrance to East Hampstead Park and a view of the woodland that's partly proposed to be removed for the roundabout. A further view of the woodland area that's required to be removed. And a further view. And then another view looking with East Hampstead Park on the left of the screen and the ancient woodland to the right. And a further view looking of the woodland where the roundabout will be located. And then a view of Bigwood Lodge, which is the curtilage listed building to East Hampstead Park. The roundabout is required as an off-site junction mitigation scheme for the South Wokingham Strategic Development location and the South Wokingham Distributor Road. The South Wokingham Distributor Road and South Wokingham Phase 2A and 2B proposals require highway mitigation at this junction. The roundabout, as discussed previously, would be a departure from policy LP35, as it does not form an accepted form of development in the countryside. It would have a localised harmful impact on the character of the countryside, and it cannot be said to recognise the intrinsic character and beauty of the countryside. This is considered to carry significant weight. The proposed loss of vegetation and trees, together with the addition of a new roundabout near the formal entrance to East Hampstead Park, has been found to have a level of less than substantial harm to the curtilage listed building Bigwood Lodge and to the listed building East Hampstead Park. Power 215 of the MPPF advises that where a development proposal will lead to less than substantial harm to the significance of a designated heritage asset, this harm should be weighed against the public benefits of the proposal, including, where appropriate, securing its optimum valuable use. The scheme offers public benefits in terms of providing improvements to the access of East Hampstead Park and the ability to appreciate the heritage asset's significance within the provision of the pedestrian and shared footway cycleway. The harm has been assessed as less than substantial harm by the Council's Heritage Officer, and any perceived harm within the immediate setting of Bigwood Lodge is outweighed by the public benefits of the scheme. A veteran tree is proposed to be felled, and works will occur within the buffer zone of an ancient woodland. The MPPF at para 193C advises that development resulting in the loss or deterioration of irreplaceable habitats, such as ancient woodland and ancient veteran trees, should be refused unless wholly exceptional reasons and a compensation strategy exists. Wholly exceptional reasons are considered to apply to the scheme as it provides public benefits which are wholly exceptional to the site. Furthermore, a suitable compensation strategy has been proposed, which is set out at para 9.55 in the report. The proposal also results in the loss of one TPO tree and a priority bat woodland, which will need to be mitigated with suitable replacement planting and a green infrastructure contribution. To sum up the adverse impacts, these can be seen as: the proposal would result in conflict with policy LP35 of the local plan and would result in harm to the countryside, and this is considered to carry significant weight. The loss of a veteran tree and some harm to trees within the ancient woodland buffer, priority bat woodland and TPO tree would also carry significant weight. Less than substantial harm to the setting of Bigwood and East Hampstead Park Hotel has been identified, although this harm is considered to be outweighed by the public benefits, and this matter should be given neutral weight. Balanced against the above, the proposal is considered to provide significant positive impacts which amount to wholly exceptional reasons justifying the development as required by para 193C of the MPPF. In respect of positive impacts which have been demonstrated as wholly exceptional reasons, these have been accepted as: the junction improvement to essential infrastructure required to address existing and forecast capacity and safety issues and are afforded significant weight. It has been demonstrated that there are no reasonable alternative locations capable of delivering the required improvements while avoiding the impact, which can be considered again as significant weight. The development enables growth identified in the Wokingham adopted local plan, which delivers new market and affordable housing, which again should be afforded significant weight. The proposal also delivers sustainable transport infrastructure, which would allow the provision of sustainable transport modes, which includes new and improved cycle and pedestrian links, which are accorded moderate weight. Biodiversity enhancement such as new woodland planting is given limited weight in view of the fact that a veteran tree and bat priority woodland is being felled and works are taking place in the buffer zone of ancient woodland. Although compensation is being provided, and the applicant has agreed to upgrade existing woodland around the site. Economic growth benefits are seen to attract moderate weight, which include the creation of jobs during the construction phase with the potential use of local suppliers and a local workforce where possible. Overall, it's considered in the planning balance that the significant benefits that have been demonstrated would override the harm that has been identified, as wholly exceptional reasons have been identified and compensation will be provided. The roundabout will provide a significant benefit to highway safety and delivers essential junction capacity improvements that are required to address existing and forecast highway capacity issues and to facilitate the delivery of the Wokingham Strategic Development Location, which are key components of the adopted Wokingham Local Plan. The application is therefore recommended for approval, subject to the requirements set out on page
Page 47, I think.
page 47 of the report, and the conditions and recommendations within the supplementary report.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for all of that. I'm sure there are questions. Members. Councillor Hayes and then Councillor Collins, please.
I was very interested with what the tree officer stated on page 29 with regards to the trees, and I'm sure he was crying while he was writing it because it's something I feel in the environment. But the question being, if we then go to page 40, 9.55, the applicant has stated, is there any possibility that some of these trees or the wood itself can be utilised to make some benefit back for the loss of what we're taking down?
Would you like to respond? Tree officer.
Thank you, Chair. Through you, then for the benefit of the meeting, then I'm Stephen Chown. I'm the head of the Natural Estate Service, so within my area comes the tree officers and also the biodiversity officers who have contributed along the way to this scheme. The question that you've asked about the use of the wood from the arisings from tree removals and whether that can be put to a positive benefit, there is probably two stages. There will be tree works that will be organised by the companies who are doing this work. I think we will realistically have limited input to those works. However, it is the case that lots of that detail or all of that detail is still to be agreed by condition, so we would be able to have input to that. The second part of the question, I think, would relate to a sum of money that would be given to the council to do mitigation works, and as part of that, then that work would be done by our ranger team, and we have extensive experience within the Rangers of reusing timber that comes from the projects that we do in managing the open spaces that we have within the council's ownership. So I would be reasonably confident that some at least of the timber that's being removed will be used for the benefit of the local environment, but it's all still to be agreed, I think is the answer.
Thank you very much for that. Councillor Collins.
Thank you. I'm trying to understand the exceptional circumstances that have caused the requirement to change this junction and the loss of so many trees. Whereabouts in Wokingham are the phase 2A and 2B sites which are being developed that have caused this need for the junction change? And how many homes are we talking about?
Through you, Chair, Andy Wells, Highways. The plan that Katie Andrews has shared on the screen shows the South Wokingham strategic development location areas south of the railway line. and the roundabout that we are talking about is on the far right-hand side of that plan. You can see the thicker, darker line north-south of Old Wokingham Road, a little stub to the northeast, bigger line that is Peacock Lane, and then to the west or left on the plan, you can see Waterloo Road, which comes into that strategic development location and will then be diverted through the parcel into the eastern end of that development. You can also see a spine road that comes from a bridge over the railway line that is already constructed down to a roundabout within the development within Wokingham. That roundabout is also already constructed, and Wokingham are currently constructing the length of the link road between that roundabout east-west all the way westwards to where there is a supermarket in Wokingham. I think it's Finchampstead Road within Wokingham, where that will eventually link to. I don't have the exact number of dwellings off the top of my head, but it's in the order of several hundreds to thousands of dwellings in that area that are already consented.
I think it's very difficult to. Yeah, do you want to?
Sorry, I didn't
Katie,
turn
have you
mine
got
off.
the other
Yes,
plan?
it's
Sorry.
quite difficult to tell. Could you point to some of these locations with your cursor?
I will try and share my screen as rather than pointing at Katie's, so give me a moment. Just bring the plans up. There we go. Right. I will share my screen. Let's see if you can see my cursor whilst I do so. Right. Can we see that plan? Can you see my cursor? Aha. Yes, we can. So, the roundabout location that we are discussing is here, and to the east, right on the plan, is Peacock Lane. To the south on the plan, downwards on the plan, is Old Wokingham Road, and to the west or left on the plan is Waterloo Road. And you can see that Waterloo Road comes along here, and then it is diverted into this parcel. So within Wokingham Borough, the borough boundary is right alongside this parcel. So everything left of my cursor is in Wokingham, everything right of it is in Brownell Forest. And it will be diverted through this parcel and then join up to here. This roundabout is already built, and there is a bridge over the mainline railway here. This route then runs along east-west up to the roundabout here, adjacent to Tesco's in Wokingham. If I switch to some of the other plans, you can see that link where Waterloo Road is diverted within Wokingham in slightly more detail. That is through the parcels R10 and R14, known by their Wokingham reference numbers. And I think we can see that, there we go, on this plan you can see that this is Waterloo Road here, so the roundabout is to the right and off the screen, will be diverted through this residential parcel to join that roundabout within Wokingham.
Thank you, that was much clearer.
Thank you. Tina McKenzie-Boyle, Councillor. You're on
Chair,
silent.
Chair, I might have lost a bit there because we've got workmen in and a little bit of electricity went. So I think I've probably got most of what was said there. Can I just say I've been tracking this SDL now since 2010 on what is going to be built there. So, and I've been tracking this. So we just said that there isn't a significant alternative to what is proposed here. Well, the roundabout originally, and I'm looking at my original plans, that the roundabout was planned at the end of East Hampstead Road, which is opposite South Road, leading into Beaufort Park, if in effect, on the old Wokingham Road, which would have mitigated that awful right-hand dogleg on the old Wokingham Road going into Peacock Lane, and there'll be fewer trees lost there. So I'm wondering if that site has been completely forgotten, or should we be looking at it again?
Through you, Chair, Andy Wells, Highways. The East Hampstead Road junction is linked to the South Wokingham SDL extension site, which is currently within Wokingham's draft local plan that is going through hearings at the moment in Wokingham, and that development is yet to be approved by the Planning Inspectorate. So that may or may not, depending on the Planning Inspectorate's decision with Wokingham's local plan, form a future phase and an extension to this already permitted strategic development location within Wokingham.
So supplementary, Chair, through you again,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah.
So are we saying then that we could be considering where the original roundabout was, and then we would save the trees and we would save the forecourt, shall we call it, going into East Hampstead? Can it be reconsidered?
Through you, Chair. This roundabout location that we are talking about this evening is required to mitigate the consented strategic development location within Wokingham. So that is the permitted scheme that I shared on my screen a moment ago, which I can reshare, and not the extension site that may or may not come forward to the south. And there we go, there's that plan. So the junction mitigation that we have here relates to this strategic development location here. The East Hampstead Road junction is off the bottom of this plan, down where my cursor is. And if the South Wokingham SDL extension site, which is in broadly this location, is approved by the Planning Inspectorate to be included in Wokingham's local plan, then we will be looking at the mitigation in terms of East Hampstead Road as part of that, but that is not the mitigation that is required for this already consented phase that is in front of you on the screen. The mitigation that is needed for that is at this junction, which we are talking about this evening.
Okay, so the two junctions will never meet.
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Not to worry then, don't worry. Perhaps that's me being a bit whimsical. I'm just thinking of the two roundabouts together. Thank you very much indeed for your time there. Thank you.
Thanks very much for all that. Councillor Collins, please.
Thank you, Chair. We're losing, the report says, 80 recorded individual trees, but we're also removing 3 groups of trees and a partial removal of one other group of trees. Can you give me an estimate of the total number of trees we're using? I appreciate it might be a bit rough, but it's obviously more than 80 trees if we're removing groups of trees as well.
Through you, Chair. Paul Cross, Principal Tree Officer for Bracknell Forest Council. So 80 individual trees are recorded to be removed as part of the proposal. There are 3 groups, and having a look at the plans and details submitted to date, that's an additional 35 trees within those 3 groups. And then we've got 4 neighbouring trees which need to be removed for health and safety reasons. So regardless of this application before us, ideally should be removed. And there are potentially a further 5 trees through a combination of engineering works, ditch works, that potentially will be rendered either mechanically unstable or will lose lose a significant proportion of their tree roots, which would then pose a potential risk to users of the highway. So essentially they would be anticipated to be lost as part of the proposal. So an estimate, the closest I can get to it, is about 124 trees in total, which equates to about an acre of priority deciduous habitat.
Can I,
Councillor Collins.
sorry, can I just ask a supplementary to that? We've got a table of the trees to be removed, which I think covers the 80 that's identified in the report at first. You've talked about there's a TPO tree, there's a veteran tree. Can you explain to me what the category A and category B for trees are? Because we're losing 9 category A and 29 category B, at least.
Through you, Chair. Yes, so essentially they're categorised in terms of quality. So where you look at trees within a woodland, generally they would, depending on their landscape contribution, you would categorise them either A, B, or potentially C, but largely they would be A in this case because of their collective contribution. The survey itself has actually broken the trees down individually, so you're not always going to get A category high quality trees within a woodland because they are going to be of a mixed bag. They're going to be of different physiological and structural condition, but you would read this as a landscape block, as certainly for the woodland to the south of Peacock Road as A2, but it's perfectly acceptable to individually categorise the trees where there are individual or multiple impacts upon that. The trees to the north would be technically, if they're ancient woodlands, they would automatically be categorised as A3 in accordance with British standards.
Anyone else? Questions? Councillor Smith, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'm familiar with this junction. It's quite tight and cars go down there quite fast. And clearly there's going to be additional traffic associated with the development over the border in Woking. I'm just wondering if the highways officers might be able to comment on if we weren't to approve this and that development were to take place with the increased traffic it brings, what would be the extent of concerns around highway safety without this?
Through you, Chair. Andy Wells, Highways. So the existing junction, as Councillor Smith points out, is difficult. It has poor forward visibility around the curve from Peacock Lane into Old Wokingham Road. It also has relatively poor visibility to the right out of Waterloo Road, and you struggle if you're turning right into Waterloo Road from the Peacock Lane direction to turn right with allowing vehicles to pass you to continue down Old Wokingham Road, or for vehicles in the opposite direction from Old Wokingham Road to Peacock Lane, because there is insufficient width to get 3 vehicles across. And so there have been several accidents at this junction in the past, 3 accidents in the last 5 years, including 1 serious, 8 in the last 10 years. And obviously that accident rate would be predicted to increase with additional traffic through that link if no improvement is made. The roundabout junction is fully compliant with design standards and includes pedestrian cycle provision as well. And in doing so, it provides the visibility and allows the give-way movements as a roundabout does to the right to allow that junction to operate much more safely than it does at the moment. There's also a speed limit reduction on approach and at the roundabout itself proposed as part of the roundabout scheme, so reducing the approaches and the roundabout itself to 30 miles an hour.
Councillor Templeton.
I know this junction well as well, and well, it's just horrible. And when I taught at East Thamesy Park, as you know, for 22 years, and that was a regular route up that road, and it was, if you're on your bike, it was pretty lethal. So anyway, besides that, some of these trees are coming down in groups. So where are these, is there a place nearby or somewhere where we could replant groups of trees to get back to the COPs type thing, where we actually are not just saying, oh, we've got to have 120. I know we don't do it like that, but it would be good to replace them and feel that we were in time rebuilding an ancient woodland of COPs if we have to take them down. Some of them are very mature trees. Now, I know it is really difficult to keep replant a mature tree. So I guess the replanting will be whips or something. But it would be nice if we could have some replanting of big trees, because if it's those lovely fir trees which are around Bigwood Lodge and they're the ones to go, then that would be quite a shame. But it will take years to get them back to where they were. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
I think we got it.
Through you, Chair, then in answer to the question about the aspirations for replacement tree planting, I guess there is a large number of trees that are being removed. There's also a sizable amount of mitigation funding that's proposed to be passed to the borough that will be used for a range of projects. The proposal is all of those projects are on Bracknell Forest land. There's fairly extensive opportunities for these kinds of schemes on the north and the south of Peacock Lane, because we already have open spaces in management in those areas. The ideas that we have and have put forward so far are essentially enhancing the features that are already there, connecting into the parts of the ancient woodland that we bound with. There will be a mixture of planting of whip trees to strengthen linear features, to extend the volume of woodland that we have in the area. There is also allowance for some standard tree planting, which would be more sizable trees that would obviously not replace the trees at the size and stature that are being removed, but would have good chance of doing that as quickly as we can in the future. And then in combination with all of the other biodiversity enhancements that we would look to put into place, then I'm fairly confident that we can do a good, well-rounded project that will be to the benefit of trees and biodiversity in the future with the land that's in our control.
Thank you.
Thanks. Is there any chance you can propagate new trees from the very old ones that we've got, that we could mix in with the obviously bigger ones?
Absolutely, yes. There might be opportunities to harvest and translocate small trees, seedling trees, into the wider area. And there's also a key principle which would be allowing woodlands to naturally regenerate wherever we can. So yes, fencing areas and allowing the natural processes to extend would be a part of the work that we would plan.
Good, thank you. Councillor Collins.
Thank you. There seems to be an issue with knowing where the utilities are exactly around the junction. Is that likely to cause the loss of even more trees than the ones we've already spoken about?
Through you, Chair, although it was somewhat a tree question. There are existing known utilities that predominantly run along the northern side of Peacock Lane and Waterloo Road, and they run under the short length of existing cycleway that is in that area. There are also covers for other utilities in the same area. So the known utilities and the lesser known utilities would be the responsibility of those implementing the scheme, the contractors implementing the scheme, to relocate as necessary to ensure the delivery of the roundabout. There are also overhead cables on various telegraph poles through the same section, and it may be required, depending on the street lighting design, that some of the overhead cables may also need to be undergrounded as part of the works. There is a condition worded, I'm afraid I haven't got the condition number to hand, which sets out that those undergrounding and new utility works as necessary should be below hard standing rather than in any soft areas where there are likely to be tree roots. So in a similar vein to the existing electricity cable which runs under the cycleway, where the cycleway exists, and where that cycleway ends, it is under the carriageway of Peacock Lane at the eastern end and Waterloo Road at the western end.
Thank you. Can I just ask a supplementary? That's guaranteed, so we definitely wouldn't lose trees because they're always going to be under the hard standing.
That is the wording in the condition that they will be required to comply with.
Right. Thank you.
Anyone else? No? Oh, yes. Carry on. Councillor Collins.
Sorry.
Again.
There is a footpath shown running along Waterloo Road, which currently just comes to a dead end. Can you assure me that it will actually go somewhere when and if the scheme is developed?
Through you, Chair, the requirement for the roundabout attached to the planning consent within Wokingham also sets out a requirement for pedestrian cycle connectivity. And so, yes, there will be a subsequent application which will be Section 278 highway application. So within the existing areas of adopted highway along Peacock Lane on the southern side to connect through to where the existing cycle facilities end close to Sparrowhawk Way at Jennets Park. And along Waterloo Road, there will be a footway provision which crosses the road to the west of the red line for this scheme, and cyclists will be within the carriageway in that section. And within that, there's a proposal to reduce the speed limit on Waterloo Road to 30 miles an hour, which is consistent with what is proposed for the roundabout at this end, and also within the Wokingham SDL at the other end. That is all subject to highway agreement and subsequent Section 278 highway agreement.
Thank you.
Thank you. I noticed there was a mention of parking for contractors or workers outside of the red line, and I'm a bit concerned that this could end up in damage to further trees. Do we have assurances about the safety of the trees in those cases? Please.
Through you, Chair, there is a very specific, well, actually, there's a several set of conditions which will cover a construction management plan and associated parking as well for vehicles and arboriculture. So it'll be tied into an arboricultural method statement, which will require vertical protective fencing, etc. Those details are yet to be submitted, but there are conditions which would cover that off and protect on and off-site trees.
Thank you. Same concern if they're doing works near the trees that are supposed to stay. What assurances do we have that they will be very careful and they will make sure they know which trees? Because we had all the goings on at Beaufort Park, which is a bit scary when it comes to ancient woodland.
Through you, Chair. There are very specific conditions which require certain operations to be carried out in a sensitive manner. So where we're trying to align all the services within pre-existing hard surfacing, where there be limited, we believe there'll be limited tree risk, although no excavation has been undertaken to date. But essentially, we're trying to keep everything outside the root protection areas of trees. Inevitably, there will be some form of excavation within the buffer zone of the ancient woodland for the alignment of new services, realignment of existing. But there is a very specific method statement which we're using compressed air tools, hand digging, arboricultural supervision, which it won't prevent harm, but it will certainly go to a strong way to limit any sort of damage to underlying tree roots there.
Thank you. Yes, Assistant Director of Planning. Thank you.
Through you, Chair. Yes, just to confirm, so the condition recommended by the Principal Tree Officer, number 4, actually specifically talks about an auditable system of arboricultural site monitoring. So just to give you reassurance that these works will be monitored on site and the local authority will be able to check that they are being implemented appropriately.
That's very important. Thank you. Can I also ask what happens, because at some point the road is going to have to be closed, isn't it, during these works? How does that work, please?
Through you, Chair, all implementation requirements in terms of road closures or temporary lights, etc., will be handled through the Council's Highway Traffic Management team, and the contractors undertaking those works will be required to submit the required licences, etc., at the relevant points. So that will all be covered through the Highways Department.
Thank you. Councillor Penfold, please.
If this roundabout is going to be one of the places where the distributor road, or whatever they call it, in Wokingham is going to finish, does it not mean a lot of extra traffic, which is why you want to build the roundabout? What implications does that have for Peacock Lane and Old Wokingham Road? Are they going to be improved at all as part of the infrastructure, or just stay as they are?
Through you, Chair, I will share my screen again, just to make clear. It's going to work. There we go. So the distributor road doesn't end at this junction. The distributor road begins at London Road, which is the A329 at this point, to the north of the railway line, up very near the top of this drawing. It continues as built down across the bridge over the railway line to this roundabout that is already existing, and then continues within Wokingham to join up with where the test just north of the Tesco's in Wokingham. So the distributor road itself does not start or end at this junction. The improvements are due to the safety and also the additional traffic that may come through this parcel, and the alignment of the route within, so the realigned Waterloo Road effectively within the development parcel closest to our borough boundary has been made deliberately circuitous to try to deter traffic where possible, albeit there is an intention to provide a bus route through here which would also serve Jennetts Park and also East Hampstead Park. So there's a benefit there in terms of that. And the capacity of the roundabout in terms of its design and lane widths, etc., has been tested with the predicted traffic from this South Wokingham SDL as a whole. There is a small additional scheme on Peacock Lane at the roundabout with Vigo Way, but it is small. It's just a lane increase of width, which is relatively small, but that is part of the highway works that will follow and not part of the application that you are considering this evening.
Right, thank you. I agree with a lot of people have said it is a horrible junction now. I used to use it regularly before they had built the houses north of Waterloo Road, and even then it was very difficult. It's even more difficult now.
No. Was that a question?
No, it was a comment following on from my other question. My question.
I have a couple of questions on some of the wording, but that may have changed in the supplementary, I'm afraid. May I refer you to page 41? and 9.59. It's a follow-on from the parking outside the red line. It says it is considered that a suitably worded condition could require a method of construction statement to be submitted. I would have thought that's it's essential that we have a suitably worded condition to require a method of construction statement, but perhaps a new...
Through you, Chair.
Yeah.
The condition 16 on the main report, and Katie can correct me if it's a different number on the supplementary, talks about details of a construction environmental method statement to control the environmental and construction effects of demolition and or construction work, and sets out a long list of things that need to be provided, including details of parking of vehicles for site operatives and visitors in IX.
Is that where it is, please?
Through you, Chair, yes. On the supplementary, conditions 16 and 17 both require a environmental method statement to be submitted, one prior to clearance works taking place and then another prior to construction works taking place. So there's two plans that need to come in.
Thank you. Anyone else? Tina Mackenzie, no, all right. Was there anything else? Do you have any other questions before we move to debate? No? Okay, then may I move the recommendation? Is it in the supplementary as well? I think not. It's the yes, the recommendation is page 47, did we say? Yep. And the amended conditions from page 3 of the supplementary report. I move that we accept those. Do I have a seconder, please?
Happy to second.
Thank you, Councillor Collins. Debate. Who would like to comment, please? No questions now. Councillor Smith, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'm very happy to support this. I think the loss of trees is always lamentable, but there's obviously mitigations and compensation proposed within this, and it just is abundantly clear that this is entirely necessary from a highway safety perspective. I mean, my personal subjective opinion has always been that junction feels a bit ropey, and the statistics shared by the highways officers this evening in terms of accidents clearly support that. So, you know, even without the increased traffic in relation to the developments in Wokingham, you know, I think there would be a case for this kind of work, and the development in Wokingham just further strengthens that. So I'm very happy to support this.
Thank you. Councillor Temperton.
I'm very happy to support it as well. I think this needed to be done a long time ago, and the fact that the trees are going to be planted elsewhere, and there's biodiversity in back boxes and other things being put in for to increase biodiversity. I think it's a very positive thing, and I think it will make that area much safer. I support it.
Thank you. Oh, Councillor Hayes.
Well, I will support it, but I would like to bring to the attention that could we not consider, when I was reading the recommendations on page 47, number 11, financial compensation secured in respect of loss of vegetation, and that the building East Hampstead in its own right goes back to Henry VIII of history. It's Catherine of Aragon and all the rest of it. Consider that some of the big trees, if they could be carved even, artwork, not just put somewhere in fencing. Losing what we're doing, let's put something back in there as art. Consider it at some stage. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Collins.
Thank you. I do appreciate the merits of this proposal, the safety at the junction, and yes, I know the junction, and it isn't a nice junction. However, I really do not appreciate the loss of trees, and I don't think you can ever compensate for the loss of those trees, including a TPO tree, which is an oak, which supports more biodiversity in one tree than many of our other different species of trees. I will not be voting against it, but I will be abstaining. I don't know why Wokingham considered this scheme to direct traffic through Bracknell, and no, I can't support it.
Thank you. Any other speakers, please? We've had much concern about the trees. Oh, Councillor Mackenzie Boyle. You're on mute.
I lost connectivity shortly, so it's all coming back in dribs. Apologies. I do support Councillor Collins. I really do. I understand where she's coming from. The loss of the trees is, for me, unforgivable. There are other reasons and other ways that we could be looking at that junction. And I am just so nervous about what is going to happen in the future. I know we've got to look at this application today, but we'd be foolish not to think about going forward. Can you imagine the traffic that's going to be heaving up those roads and backwards into the old Wokingham Road? That is going to become just one car park, a little bit more of a car park than it is currently. So yeah, if I could vote, you know where I'd be coming from, but I certainly support Councillor Collins in what she's saying.
Thank you very much for your comment. Anybody else? No, then may I just say clearly we're all very, very concerned about the trees and don't appreciate that this has happened. It feels like there ought to be another way, but clearly as well, the officers have gone into everything in much detail and have agonised over it as much as we have, or more, to make it better. So yeah, the junction must be carried through, but I know I can trust that our officers will do everything they can to preserve our trees and extend the woodland that we are losing, but so that in future days, years, eons away, there will be trees and it will be appreciated, I guess, and it will have an effect environmentally, and that really counts. So thank you for all that you've commented and questioned. Shall we take a vote? All those in favour? Those against? And abstentions? 3 abstentions. Thank you very much. Thank you, Katie, and the officers for presenting for us. Next.
Chair, through you, was that carried?
Yes, it was.
I can't see from here. Thank you very much.
3 abstentions. Okay,
Yes.
thanks.
Okay.
Item 7 is the Russets, Hankham Road. Shelley, I think.
Good evening. So I'm Shelley Clark. I'm the case officer for the application. I'm just going to bring up my screen. Okay. So the application site consists of a plot of land that was previously part of the garden of the Russets, the neighbouring property to the south. A detached garage was also on the land with access to Hankham Road. However, this has now been demolished and the site cleared. Neighbouring properties are located to the north in Sandy Lane, Here we can see numbers 34, 36 and 38 Sandy Lane, and properties in Mount Pleasant and Hunter's Mews on the opposite side of Hankham Road. The proposal is for the erection of a 4-bedroom detached dwelling with integral garage. A previous outline application for similar development was approved by the committee in 2023, subject to conditions and a Section 106 agreement, where all matters except for landscaping were considered as part of the application. Unlike the previous outline application, this is an application for full planning permission rather than an outline permission. The proposed layout shows how access and parking for a 4-bedroom property can be accommodated on site along with refuse and cycle storage. 2 parking spaces will be to the front of the property and 1 within an integral garage. The layout shows sufficient private amenity space commensurate, if not larger, than that of neighbouring properties. The plot size would also be commensurate with other plots in the area and would reflect the established grain of the locality. The new house will have 3 parking spaces in accordance with the council's parking standards. Amended plans have been provided to demonstrate how the development can achieve the required visibility displays. So here we can see the proposed elevations and the floor plans for a 4-bedroom property. As previously mentioned, this proposal is similar in scale and appearance as well as layout to the outline permission granted in 2023 for a 4-bedroom dwelling on the site. Please see the layout that was approved in 2023. And if I go back, we can see the proposed layout for this application. So I'm going to move on. There we have that. So the street scene elevation for this application shows how the proposal has considered the character and appearance of the area. The elevations show design features that are in keeping with those found on neighbouring properties. The new house will have a pitched roof with front dormer windows in keeping with its neighbouring property, the Rossets. Hankham Road slopes downwards from the Rossets towards Sandy Lane. The elevations show a part 2-storey, part single-storey design that has considered the impact of the dwelling on properties in Sandy Lane in terms of being overbearing and any potential loss of light. The building is single-storey closest to these properties. The street scene elevation shows the property set at a lower level than the Rossets. The Rossets is on the left-hand side. It also shows the relationship between the new house and properties in Sandy Lane, where a line has been drawn at a 25-degree angle from the conservatory at the rear of 36 Sandy Lane. The new house lies below this line, indicating that there will be no loss of light to these properties in accordance with the guidance contained within the Bray document, Site Layout Planning for Daylight and Sunlight. Due to the siting of the proposed house relative to neighbouring properties and there being no windows on the side elevation of the house facing these properties, it is not considered that there will be any loss of privacy. Any additional side-facing windows towards properties in Sandy Lane will need to be obscure glazed and non-opening unless 1.7 metres above the floor of the room. Neighbours have raised concerns with regards to flooding and drainage. The applicant has therefore submitted a flood risk assessment and drainage strategy for the site. The local lead flood authority considers the site at low risk of surface and groundwater flooding. So with regards to the drainage strategy, all ground surfaces will be of permeable construction with permeable paving utilised for all uncovered trafficked areas. A water butt will be incorporated into the development whereby the rainwater collected by the water butt will be for garden use, with overflows directed into a cellular storage soakaway. A green roof will be located on the proposed bin store. Runoff from the green roof will discharge into the adjacent permeable surfacing. This management and maintenance of these SUDS features will be undertaken by the homeowner. There have been neighbour concerns that without appropriate measures, the drainage of the site will impact adjoining properties in Sandy Lane due to the difference in levels. As such, cut-off drains have been proposed in the form of filter drains channels at the site boundary with the rear gardens of properties in Sandy Lane, with an overflow into the proposed soakaway. In conclusion, this application follows a previous outline application for similar development that was approved by the committee in 2023, where all matters except for landscaping were considered as part of the application. The scale, design and layout of the proposed house mirrors that which was previously approved. Since the site has been cleared, there have been neighbour concerns about surface water drainage, and as such, a drainage strategy has been provided as part of the application to demonstrate how this might work and how this will be managed when the house is built and during construction works. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Questions for the officer, please. Councillor Penfold.
You've answered the questions about concerns of Sandy Lane, what they are going to do to mitigate this. What about runoff from places like the Russets and any other properties further up the hill? Are they going to still be coming into their garden, the new house garden?
So, properties further up the hill. Yeah. So obviously you're going down towards Sandy Lane. Well, I mean, with the difference in levels, I presume obviously the water is going to be sort of running downhill. Is that? Sorry, can you repeat the question again? I don't think I've totally understood.
Really,
yeah.
Will they have extra water coming into their garden from the houses further up the hill when there's runoff?
Yes, I understand. I mean, certainly, with regards to that,
through you, Chair,
yes.
that's obviously an existing situation, and details of a drainage strategy have been submitted, and as you'll see, condition 10 seeks further details to be submitted and approved to the local planning authority, and that would obviously have to take into account any runoff from the higher sites onto that property in order to make sure that it's appropriately drained.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Zahoudin.
Through you, Chair. Given the history of amended and previously inaccurate drawings, can officers confirm that all critical ground levels, distances and ridge heights are now fully fixed, and that no material design details affecting neighbouring amenity are being left to post-permission conditions?
So, yes, there have been certainly the objections that have been received to the application were very much in relation to the originally submitted application. Since then, amended plans have been requested and received, which show certainly extensions to neighbouring properties, all levels, the ridge height of the proposed dwelling. So yes, all that information now has been included on amended plans.
Supplementary, yes.
It's a next question, through you, Chair. Can officer explain why the BRE 25-degree daylight line was taken from a conservatory rather than from a habitable room window at number 36? Does it align with national daylight guidance?
Well, the line is taken from the conservatory, which the conservatory obviously would be closer to the proposed dwelling. Yes, it's 0.6 metres above because it's a conservatory. So yes, obviously because the conservatory is closer to the building, if the rooms to the actual house will be further away. So as such, you're going to obviously have a greater impact from the distance with the conservatory, and obviously the line, basically that the house is under the 25-degree line from the conservatory, which therefore mean that it was okay in relation to the habitable rooms of the house.
Thank you. Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Chair. Obviously, this is an application that's, or a previous version of this application has been to committee before and been approved. What we're seeing in front of us now looks incredibly similar, and I think that was one of the arguments the officer was making. I was just wondering, in terms of specifically the objections that have been raised, are there any objections which speak to sort of any matters which have evolved since the previous application, or is this largely a repeat of the previous issues that have already been debated?
Well, I think the site has since been cleared since a previous application, and obviously the ground is now at the level of the proposed house. And I think there have been concerns about surface water. And because of that, and obviously those concerns, we did request the flood risk assessment and the drainage strategy, and that has been obviously considered by the LLFA. In light, we were aware of those concerns, and the drainage strategy has very much been considered, considering those neighbour objections.
Thank you. Councillor Zahuddin again.
I can see section 106 obligation is required to be entered into to tie the application to the self-custom built commitment. However, in any unlikely event, if the self-built exception were to fall away in future, would the scheme still meet the mandatory biodiversity net gain, or would it become a non-compliant with national policy if it falls?
And certainly the application is for self-build, and the self-build will be that the section 106 will secure the self-build, or this application to be self-build. Obviously if it was not to be self-build, then if I can just actually refer to okay.
May I just ask how big the plot is? Is it less than half a hectare? Because that was mentioned in the...
Through you, Chair, I'd have to check that actually. Bear with me.
Through you, Chair, if I could go back to the question about if the self-build fell away, because there was a Section 106 agreement securing that, you would require a deed of variation. In terms of whether you would then seek to apply B&G requirements, I'm afraid that's not something that we've had an answer to, because it's not a scenario that we've gone through. But because you have an application would be required through the deed of variation, we would have the opportunity to look into the regulations and see what's specified in that instance.
Can we add a condition to kind of strengthen this and to safeguard this along the lines of, if not fulfilled, biodiversity net gain must be provided, or something along those lines? Can we condition it to safeguard against such scenario?
I think my concern is that without the B&G regulations in front of us, I'm not sure what they would state and whether that would be reasonable for us to do. I mean, certainly I can assure you that if we did have an application to vary the legal agreement, that would be one of the considerations that we would take into account in terms of whether that was reasonable. But I think without having the B&G regs in front of me, I couldn't give you a definitive answer as to whether we could specify that.
Chair, through you, I would agree with that. I think the current regulations, there's an exemption for self-build. So the baseline calculations can't be calculated at a later stage. So it would really depend on the circumstances as to what we could consider at the time it fell away. Obviously, there are other implications if there isn't a self-build exemption in place and that falls away, and that would include the civil infrastructure levy. So it's really difficult to say at this stage what considerations we could take into account. It would depend on the regulations, and I know the government is looking to change those regulations on smaller developments, so it might be that it won't be relevant for a single dwelling at the time. So it's quite difficult to answer your question at this stage, but we would have a deed of variation at that stage.
And through you, Chair, with regards to your question, it's 578 square metres, so I'd have to work that out in relation to hectares. Yeah.
Do you know the conversion?
And through you, Chair, I'm just having a look now.
Thank you. Meanwhile, has anybody else got a question? No? Councillor Hayes.
Just to add that it states it's a garage. Is there any way that we can retain it as a garage in the conditions? Yeah, I thought there would be in there. It's just one of my biggest problems at the moment is the conversion of garages, which are causing parking problems in galore around the area.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Yeah, we're hot on that one. We've got it.
Through you, Chair, my colleague, Mr. Wells, has just said that it's 0.05 or 0.06 of a hectare.
Which is approximately a 20th.
Thank you very much. That's really good. So that's definitely okay. Any other questions, please? No? None from Tina? No, I think we're okay. So the recommendation is on page 72. We don't have anything on the supplementary. And do have a seconder, please. Councillor Collins.
I'll second that, thank you.
Thank you very much. So, do you want to make any comments, members? Councillor Collins.
Yes, just given that we've already given outline approval for a very similar scheme, I don't welcome the proposal of water butts as part of drainage solutions, but I think given that there's an overflow into a soakaway and the cut-off drains along the boundary have been designed with the current issues on and off-site in mind, I will be happy to recommend this for approval.
Thank you very much. Anyone else want to comment? No? Then may we take a vote, because I entirely agree with Councillor Collins. Those in favour, please, of the recommendation. Any against? And no abstentions? No, that's unanimous. Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, the last item is one in which Councillor Temperton and Councillor Collins need to withdraw. Yeah, one from the back here. thank you officers who are departing, and thank you members for attending. Thank you. Great. Our last item of this evening. Do we need to take a break in one? Are we okay to continue? I think we will just continue if that's okay. Thank you. And this is Matt Lunn, Priory Fields.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, everyone. Introducing myself again. Matthew Lunn, Strategic Sites and Design Team Manager and the case officer for this scheme. Tonight I'm presenting to you a full planning application for the erection of a community hub, open space enhancements and ancillary services. It's being reported to planning committee because it's a council-owned site and it's in the interest of transparency. And please can I just draw your attention to the supplementary report. Presentation starts with the wider context and we'll be boring down to the detail. Just starting firstly with the site context. Just gave you a sneak preview. There we go. Sorry, that is the scheme. Boring down to the site detail. So it's the site itself is circa 3 hectares. It's currently known as Priory Fields. It's a very popular area of active open space. In the northwest corner of the site, there's an existing car park. It's bounded by the Harcourt development site to the north, which recently gained planning permission for circa 150 dwellings. Old Priory Lane to the east, Harvest Ride to the south, and Newell Green to the west. There's ditches on the east and western side of the site, and the perimeter of the site is generally vegetated with young, small trees and clumps of scrub and bramble. There are no TPOs on the site, and there would be no tree loss as a result of this development. And the site is subject to very low flood risk from all sources of flooding. And then in terms of the principle of the development, the site is located within the settlement boundary. The site sits at the heart of the Site Allocations Local Plan Policy SA9 land at Warfield, which is a mixed-use residential-led allocation for 2,200 dwellings. This proposal would deliver a key planning policy requirement to support the allocation. The development would lead to the loss of a limited area of open space, notably play pitches. This triggered the statutory consultation of Sport England. Because of both the overarching community, sports and recreational benefits derived from the scheme and the creation of a compensatory play pitch space at Westmoreland Park, the development is considered to meet the National Planning Policy Framework and the local plan test for circumstances when the loss of open space would be acceptable. Sport England and the local football club are both supportive of this proposal. Overall, therefore, the principle of this type of development in this location is considered to be acceptable. Just taking you now to the Area 1 master plan. The master plan being a prerequisite requirement of being able to be supportive of any plan applications within the area. The site itself is located within the neighbourhood centre character area of the Area 1 master plan. Within it, design principles identify the need for a landmark building, announcing the neighbourhood centre on Newell Green, high-quality public realm, the provision of street trees, and potential for temporary style that would be sympathetic to local character, which this development is considered to positively respond to. Just taking you now to the wider site context. As with all sites within the SA9 allocation, because of the patchwork mosaic of development parcels, it's been especially important to ensure that this is legible. It links up to the wider development site to ensure that the development supports a comprehensive delivery of the wider area. The area has been subject to extensive current and future development. Therefore, the design needs to respond appropriately to this and ensure the design is coherent. To the north, as I mentioned previously, this provides an illustrative layout of the circa 250 dwelling scheme, which would also provide the other half of the neighbourhood centre, just visible here, just to the north of the proposal. So in the development of this design, it's been really important to bear in mind the design interface with the Harcourt development scheme and consider the anticipated built form of the site. Indeed, the northern development would provide the access in the form of a new compact roundabout in this location where my cursor is, and the eastern arm spurring off of the roundabout that then forms the access road that the community hub would be served, the car park of the community hub would be served off of, as would be pedestrian and cyclist connections to and from the north. Also, that you have the Larks Hill area of, Larks Hill Country Park, I think it's called, just to the west, and the more recently implemented Taylor Wimpey Parcel 4 just to the east. So it's been really important, the development of this scheme, to ensure that there's links to these developments to facilitate ped cycle links, indeed, I'll get onto it, horse links, that provides an attractive alternative to the private car. Just now moving to the, just boring down to the site photos. Top left you have, this is the existing access into Prior Fields. The compact roundabout would just be to the left of that, just to the north of this access, and the temporary construction would be just to the south of that, because it's just to the right of that photograph, effectively pretty much where my cursor is on the right photo, top right. And then this photo, it's coming from the Old Priory Lane direction, looking towards Trussell Road. And just to the right here, where there's a slightly more undergrowth, that is the Harcourt development site that for the circa 150 dwellings. And this shows, it's an earth bund along the west of the site, and you can see the brambles there. That effectively forms a boundary with Newell Green. Top left here, you see this is the interface of the site with Old Priory Lane. Again, it's bunded, it's quite a wide bund, circa 10 metres, and you can see the Taylor Wimpey Parcel 4 site just to the east here. And you can see here the play pictures that are in place. The final photograph, top right, this shows its challenging my orientation here. But this is effectively looking from those goalposts, where you can see in the left photograph, looking towards Newell Green with Harvest Ride on the left. This would be, I'll get onto it, but this is effectively the path of the Bridle Way, which courses around the south and the western sides of the site. So now just taking you to the proposed site layout. I'll just take you through now the proposed development that we're considering this evening. First off, I'll zoom in. You have the community hub part of the application. This would comprise a community cafe, forecourt sports, which cater for a wide range of sporting activities, dance and fitness studio, multi-use spaces and meeting rooms available for hire, Warfield Parish Council offices, toilets and storage serving both the hub and outdoor sports facilities. And then moving to the other main half of this scheme would be the open space enhancements. So there would be the delivery of a children's play area, anticipated to be of a LEAP type specification. Enhancements to the sports pitch, which would comprise top dressing and line marking. An important strategic part, policy requirement of the SA9 allocation, which is this part of the East-West Greenway, which this is an important part, it's pretty much in the middle of it, but ultimately the Greenway links Jocks Lane in the furthest west and Westmoreland Park, both areas of open space, Westmoreland Park being over in the east. And the Greenway would course right the way through the allocation. And there'd also be a bridle way, which would connect from the southern part of Old Priory Lane, skirt around the edge of the site, the perimeter of the site, and then link up to the East-West Greenway, and then there'd be a shared surface to a planned Pegasus crossing, which would then, so it's compatible for both horses, pedestrians and cyclists, that would then cross Newell Green, taking you to Larks Hill Country Park, where there'll be an onward, I think it's a permissive route, but also you could then head north into Trussell Road if you wanted a slightly less rustic route, or to get muddy. And then finally, there's the ancillary functions. You have the plaza area here, which would provide a nice setback from the building from the compact roundabout, which would effectively be a bit of a pedestrian and cyclist node going from the south to the north to the neighbour centre to the north. Then you have the Sun Terrace here, where the number 2 is, just here, which effectively be sorry, don't know what happened there. Which would be effectively be cafe spill out space from the internal cafe. And then, as can be seen here, there'll be extensive landscaping that would help soften the built form of the development. Further to that, there will be 32 cycle parking spaces across 3 locations. One here serving the pitches, one here serving those coming from the east, and one here serving those coming from the west and from the north. There'll be 119 car parking spaces, which would be a significant increase from the circa 60 that are there currently. And there'll be 12 EV charging points with a further ducting for 19 spaces, just to future-proof the site. The parking provision will align with the expected hub and open space demand, the quantum of which is supported by the local highway authority. Further to this, the development will be built to high environmental standards, targeting operational net zero and BREEAM excellent. By virtue of this, there'll be extensive PV panels, the majority of which will be on the roof, but there'll also be some in the car park and some anticipated to be on the building, detail of which to be conditioned. In terms of the design rationale for the site layout, I have touched on it slightly already, so I'll breeze over it, but it's sorry, it is jumping. Here we go. So we've had to, the layout has had to consider the access arrangements, which were effectively established by the development to the north. The development has needed to relate well to Newell Green, because it's obviously a prominent site. Quality of design has been really important, and the neighbourhood centre. It's effectively it needs to correspond with the neighbourhood centre, not turn its back onto it, so it can be read as one. And there's good legibility between the two to increase footfall. The minimisation of the erosion of open space has been an important consideration here, and it's been positioned as such. The orientation, uses within the building as well, maximises opportunities the southern aspect provide. And there's obviously the high-quality public realm, which provides setback and is the access node for pedestrians and cyclists. The way that it's also configured helps tuck the car park away, so it's less prominent on the street scene. There'll be 2 entrances, serving those coming from the north and the east, which would be the side access on the. Sorry, I got that wrong. I worded this incorrectly. The main access would be on the southern elevation, and this would be serving those coming from the east and generally from the car park area. And then you have the side access, which would serve those coming from the other part of the neighbourhood centre, and those coming from the west too. So it's been important to ensure that there is easy, convenient access from multiple directions. Then let's move on to the elevation plans. So this is the northern elevation at the top, and then the southern elevation, the main elevation just at the bottom here. As can be seen, it's a 2-storey building, generally rectangular. The hub is generally split into 2 with a double height sports hall, with the remaining uses over two stories. The design is considered to be contemporary. It's functional, and it is considered to be of a landmark quality whilst being respectful for the character of the area. Sorry, I know how it's happening now. I think I'm touching the mouse pad through the paper. So let's go back. I'm off track. Here we go. So in terms of no, I'm not there yet, am I? Here it is. So in terms of the external materials. There's been extensive consideration for this. It obviously has to be it's a very prominent building, public building. There has been some mention as to why it wasn't wood clad, and it was ruled out due to lifespan and maintenance issues. The materials needed to be durable and able to assimilate well into the area. Instead, the dominant material is a brick, the dominant brick being of a light buff multi-stock blend with detailing of a darker brick. Which would feature more between the windows and towards the parapet, towards the top of the building. Further to that, on the sports hall part of the site, there will be cladding, which is considered to be of a contemporary colour of a deep green buff colour. Further to that, there'll be potential for solar panels, which would add variation to the site. I'll just show you examples of that. So here, there's an extract from the external materials palette here, bottom right. So you have the dominant brick type there, the detailing brick type there, with the sports hall cladding shown there. Further to that, there'll be brise soleil above the windows for the purposes of solar shading, and there'll be external signage to be put, just indicatively shown here, but this, the signage of which will be subject to detail. Right, let's go to, and just in terms of the roof that we don't really get to see much of here, but that would host solar panels, which is required to achieve the operational net zero, and it would be largely concealed by the raised parapet. So overall, design is considered to be appropriate to the location and function and positively responds to planning's objectives for this important part of the SA9 area. And in terms of the impact on residential amenity, which I think fair to say much of the objections are about, although relatively few objections were received, factoring in the built heights and separation distances between proposed and existing dwellings, and further to this, the lighting restrictions and the noise mitigation proposed, and in relation to the construction environmental management plan that be secured to minimise construction disruption, the development was not considered to result in an unacceptable impact on residential amenity. I'll now just take you to the internals. Firstly, the ground floor plan. So you can see here the light green area would be the cafe the multi-use space, and then just to the north of that, you've got the changing areas, toilets, cafe back of house, refuse area, and then ground floor east part, you have the forecourt sports hall, storage and plant. And you can see here how the cafe area has been purposely put on the southern aspect so it can spill out onto the sun terrace. And you also have good natural surveillance onto the public open space from there as well. Moving now to the first floor plan. So you can see the eastern element, that's the sports hall over the 2 stories. There's nothing there for you to see. And then at the western part here, you see the Walford Parish Council function area. And you've got the function hall up here, and then the dance studio there. And then further to that, you have supporting toilets, lifts, and obviously the stairwells. I'll now take you to the, so I've got some illustrative visuals here for you that the applicant has provided. Firstly, top left, this is a view with the PV solared carports, and this would be this is effectively looking from the east, the Old Priory Lane direction, so the eastern elevation. Top right, you have here the main elevation, the southern elevation, looking from the playing pitches. And then you have, this is the most prominent elevation, arguably, from Newell Green, as if you come stood on the roundabout looking at the western elevation. And then this would be the view that you get from the access road, as if you're coming into the site off the roundabout, off Newell Green. Then just boring into a little bit more detail, albeit the landscaping is the detail of which is to be secured by condition. This serves to provide an indication of what was proposed, and it's probably likely to be fairly similar when the detail does come in for the discharge of that condition. You can see here they're providing the required street trees along the main access road. You've got rain gardens here on the west of the building, so with tree planting and other sort of more water-tolerant vegetation. And then because of structural issues, it's more ornamental, smaller trees around the building itself. But as you move to the south, into the open space area, then there's more of a focus on the native species of trees, such as hawthorn along the Greenway. And then you have also oak tree planting along Newell Green, just so over time it will, once it establishes, it will really frame the site, I think, far nicely than it is currently framed, which is just really just clumps of bramble. Now, there's been some concern as to the impact of, say, the car parking and associated lighting with adjacent properties. And here, hopefully it serves to show how landscaping, hedge planting and trees would help to serve as a bit of a landscape buffer to the impact of car parking, and particularly these trees here, which have served to amply buffer from Old Priory Lane and those new properties to the east and existing just slightly further north here. But also bearing in mind that it's not apparent now, but there would be significant change to the north where you have the planning permission for the 150 dwellings. And I would also add that the landscaping scheme, it's partly just to, by the very nature of needing to achieve a good quality landscaping scheme, but also for the site to achieve 10% biodiversity net gain on site, the development will be providing circa 100 new trees. Now just taking you to the drainage strategy, albeit it might be a little bit, this is just to show you and something we can refer to if you need any further information. But the site's drainage strategy has been designed for a 1 in 100-year flood event, plus a 40% climate change allowance. Surface water would be collected, attenuated in permeable paving, swales and tanking, and steadily released at greenfield runoff rates into eastern and western ditches. As a result, in accordance with the NPPF, the development would not result in an increased flood risk off-site, and the LLFA have been consulted throughout and is supportive. Further to this, sufficient foul water capacity would be secured by condition. To conclude, as set out in the main and supplementary reports, this full planning application will deliver a key planning policy requirement to support the new community at Warfield. Overall, the proposal is considered to deliver planning policy objectives for the site. The proposal has been subject to extensive planning engagement with officers consulted and involved in the development of the scheme throughout and are supportive. The proposal is therefore recommended for approval, subject to the conditions at section 11 of the report as amended by the supplementary report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. May I have the first question and ask? This is so stuffed full of amazing bio-friendly devices with the drainage and the green buffers and so on and so forth. Is there anything you would like to have put in that you haven't managed to put in there?
I would only add that there probably wouldn't be so many trees if it wasn't for biodiversity net gain. But I think it's fair to say that, in all the schemes that I deal with, I'm always keen to maximise opportunities for good quality landscaping. And I've been closely involved in this project for a while now, and I have experienced firsthand how because of the structure, the built form, there are some limitations as to what vegetation you can plant within close proximity to the built form. So, if it was me, I'd probably have a few more native, larger broadleaf trees nearer to the structure, but that has been relegated to where it's been possible around the open space. But I think opportunities have been maximised.
Thank you very much. Am I on? Yes, thank you very much. Anybody else got a question, please? Or Councillor Mackenzie Boyle.
Thank you, Chair, and through you. Have lessons learned been imprinted on this lot of plans from Butlers Park and from the lovely pavilion at Great Hollands?
Yeah.
Through you, Chair. So just firstly with Butlers Park, my understanding is that that the end user was not, because I believe Age of Concern are now the tenants. Well, they run the facility, and they, to the best of my knowledge, were not involved in the design of the building. Whereas Warfield Parish Council, who be the end owners of this building once it's transferred, they have been integral to the design of it. So they've designed it how they want it, they have their own usership in mind, and they need to also be mindful of having to run a facility that is going to pay its way to a degree, and be popular fundamentally. So I don't know what issues you might be referring to at Bucklers Park, but I don't think it could have been done any better in terms of engagement with end users as it has been done. And
No, sorry, Matt.
Oh,
No,
God.
I'm
Have I
and I'm sorry.
misinterpreted that?
Just a tad, yeah. Just a bit. That was me not being clear. No, the things that were used. I mean, in Bucklers Park, we put I think a bouncy floor in for dance, and the lovely the lovely pavilion has got all the glass coming round in one of the big rooms. So there's lots of areas to be mirrored rather than dismissed. No, not the administration of. I'll come back to that later. But that what was put into this, because I just think it's fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry. So, I mean, I know they've got a full design team on board looking at all aspects of the building. And they've got this one chance to get it right. And to the best of my knowledge, I think they have catered, and they try to, obviously within the budget that they have, try to make it as best they can.
I'm sure. Thank you for that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Anybody else? May I ask about the Grampian condition to put the to improve or put in the adult-sized football pitch at Westmoreland Park, please?
Sure. So, ever since the inception of this project years ago, there was mindful that there might be some loss of open space. But what top of the brief has always been to minimise that loss. But recognising it is a popular area of open space, and I think only playing of sports will hopefully only increase as a result of the allocation of houses. There's going to be a lot of sports playing people, hopefully. So it's only right that this development does compensate for the loss of open space. But I I haven't done the exact sums, but because a lot of the, I would just refer you to just a slide that I prepared just to help in interpretation. Just the line that I've drawn on this plan is roughly the extent of the greenway, and south of that is being retained. North of that would be for the community hub, car parking, open space and greenway. So if just by looking at that, it helps to understand that whilst the quantum of open space would be bigger, the actual quantum of play space is slightly less than that. So whilst the like-for-like area of open space might not be comparable at Westmoreland Park, I believe, don't pin me to this, but I believe the actual area of play space that's being provided at Westmoreland Park might be a slight net gain. So it's only right. It wasn't strictly speaking necessary because only one of the MPPF and local plan tests was required to be passed. But it's opportunity arises, and also it's something that the Walford SBD does require capacity improvements at Westmoreland Park, Walford Memorial Ground and Priory Fields. So this is an opportune time to deliver that.
That's great. I didn't see a condition in the list to say that would be done first. How does this work? Am I going mad?
Sorry, it's I will just refer you. So the Grampian condition is. Where is it? This play space. So it'd be. Yeah, so it's condition 31. So it says the building shall not be occupied until enhancement works to deliver a new senior sports pitch at Westmoreland Park shall be completed and the pitch made available for play. Well, I suppose the timing of that condition is to ensure that because the building of the community hub is time critical, so it should not be held up for the delivery of pitch enhancements. But my understanding is that the council who will be delivering that project are effectively ready to press a button, and the money is there, and the only the window that is being waited for is, I think, the end of the playing season, or it might be the weather window in April time, when the contractors, I seem to remember, have said that would be an opportune time when, you know, presumably slightly less boggy, and the ground would have had a chance to dry out.
Thank you, yeah. Anybody else got a question? Gosh. A very comprehensive report, thank you. And the supplementary, of course. Since there are no further questions, I move that we, no, where did I see that? We accept the recommendation with the amendments in the supplementary report. I've forgotten where the recommendation is. 105, thank you. That's nearly there. Do I have a seconder, please?
Happy to second that, Chair.
Councillor Frewer? Oh, Councillor Frewer put his hand up. Thank you.
Councillor Frewer, happy to second.
Thanks. Comments, please. Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Chair. I just say I'm very happy to support this. The Warfield area has been and continues to be a significant focus for residential development within the borough. And, you know, whilst that is sometimes controversial with residents, the Warfield site allocations are absolutely critical to achieving our government mandated development targets. And I think, you know, residents are often concerned when they see that scale of development around, are we getting the infrastructure, are we getting the facilities to support that? So I think that, you know, this is a great example of a project being brought forwards by the council in collaboration with Warfield Parish Council, obviously, to provide exactly the kind of community facilities that scale of development warrants. I'm also really pleased to see that we're putting our money where our mouth is in terms of sustainable development. You know, there's some really positive aspects to this in terms of the building being operationally net zero. We're achieving BREEAM Excellent, which is no small achievement. That takes some significant work in design to achieve that standard in a building. And finally, the EV parking spaces as well. You know, we have still a lot of need for increased EV capacity and support for that within the borough. So great to see all of that on this site, and I'm very happy to support this.
Thank you for all that. Councillor Preston, please.
I'd like to support this. Having Great Hollands Pavilion in my own ward and seeing the benefits that that's brought to the community, I feel that with our communities growing as they are, and with the absolute amazing build that has been shown to us, I think this is, absolutely essential. So I'll be supporting this.
Thank you. Anyone else like to comment? Councillor Mackenzie Boyle.
Thank you very much, Chair. And through you, can I congratulate the officer on this extremely detailed report? It makes sense all the way through. Thank you. And can I congratulate Warfield Parish Council on their vision and how they are future-proofing the amenities of their area. I really do congratulate them. And I hope the cafe and all the other areas and amenities to be hired will give them what they need. They will be well used, I'm sure. I just wish that Crowthorne Parish Council had carried out their project on the Bucklers Park, because we could have done with something like this. But anyway, just to say, Warfield Parish Council has had the vision and has engaged with the proper agencies, and I feel sure this is going to be a huge success. And I just think it's fantastic. If I could, you know what I'd be doing coming at the time for voting.
Yes, absolutely. I think this shows what a good steering group they had too, but with the officer in charge as well, brilliant. But it's very pleasing to see all these go-ahead eco-friendly things happening in real time, and we're actually going to see benefits. Warfield will be very happy with it, I'm sure. Anybody else? No? Shall we take a vote? Those in favour of the recommendation? I think that's everybody. Any against or abstentions? No. Lovely. And that, thank you very much. Member of the public at the back, I'm sorry I don't know who you are, but I'm sure you're to do with the latest. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks for attending. I will see you very soon. Safe home. Bye bye. Thank you.